Hi guys, we hope you had a nice winter break.
My name is Lucas.
And in Camden.
Today we are going to talk about The Fountain of Fair Fortune, which is one of the several stories in the book The Tales of Beedle the Bard.
The book was written by J.K. Rowling, a British novelist known for creating the Harry Potter saga, and is one of the most recognized authors in the 21st century.
However, the book is presented as written by Beedle the Bard, a famous author within the wizarding world of the Harry Potter universe, whose stories are meant for children of wizards and witches.
As the title suggests, the tale revolves around a fountain placed in an enchanted garden and protected by strong magic that will grant fair fortune to the one who bathes in its water.
A lot of people, muggles and wizards, gather in front of the walls that protect the fountain, but only 4 of them manage to get in, 3 witches and a knight.
These 3 witches have all gone through a bad patch, and throughout the story they are presented with different challenges they have to face in order to reach the fountain.
The place has lots of herbs none of them have ever seen before, but when they have to choose who will bathe, one of the witches falls to the ground, exhausted by the journey, and is about to die.
Another witch picks up some herbs and makes a potion that immediately kills her. In the end, the 3 women realize they no longer have the need of bathing in the fountain. Meeting the challenges has already solved the problems they had. So the chosen one to receive the fountain's fair fortune is the knight nonetheless.
They all return home to live happily ever after, leaving the fountain behind, and never knowing that this one carried no enchantment at all.
As we mentioned before, the main characters of this story are 3 witches and a peculiar knight. One of the witches, called Althea, had been robbed of her house, her gold, and her wand, and hoped that the fountain will relieve her suffering.
Asha was extremely ill, no healer could cure her, and hoped that this fountain will banish her symptoms and grant her a long, happy life.
The last witch, Amada, had been abandoned by her dearest love, and hoped that the fountain would make her forget about him and relieve her of her pain.
Sir Luckless is the knight who happened to be among the crowd waiting outside the walls. He was dragged along with the witches into the garden, but had no intention of taking part of the journey whatsoever. Unlike other knights in the traditional fairy tale, Luckless is not presented as a strong, courageous hero at all.
On the contrary, there are some features that lead us to believe he's a coward. But as the story progresses, we see that Luckless is the first one to try and find a way of solving the obstacles they come across. The 4 characters have a function of both helpers and heroes, because they have an object of search and they help each other to meet the challenges.
They can be described as monodimensional, as there is only one outstanding feature of the characters in the text.
But they are also dynamic, since there is a development of the characters throughout the story.
As regards time, the story is narrated chronologically. The point of attack is in medias res, and some instances of speed up can be found as well in the text. The second obstacle involved a grassy hillside that demanded the fruit of the protagonist's labors to let them pass. Although they walked for hours and hours, they could not move any further, all of which is described in one single sentence.
Hints of real time can be found when reports of action is made, or where there is direct speech between the characters. There, however, wrapped around the base of the hill, was a monstrous white wand, loaded and wound. At their approach, it turned a foul face upon them, and uttered the following words: "Pay me the proof of your pain." There are very few descriptions of time across the text. At the beginning, we get to know that the opportunity to venture into the garden is given once a year between the hours of sunrise and sunset on the longest day.
The story focuses on the importance of teamwork, effort, and equality. It was the hard work the characters did to surpass every obstacle what helped them overcome their troubles.
Another important lesson is that the ability to use magic doesn't guarantee success. The comments made at the beginning of the story by Hermione Granger point this out as well.
These stories are supposed to be told by wizards and witches to their children so as to teach them that having magic won't solve all their problems.
In this narrative, there are some aspects of the fairy tale genre. The story is contextualized in a magical world with monodimensional characters. There is an explicit context referring to place and an absence of context referring to the time. Also, there are instances of direct speech and chronological order of events. However, it has some characteristics that don't belong to this genre, such as a non-magical solution, and as regards language, the author used complex syntax, coordinated sentences, and a wide range of vocabulary.
First of all, let's analyze the plot. This is a close one because all characters find happiness in the end, and it's also a tight one because everything happens for a reason and all events are a consequence of the other.
As regards the narrative mode, there are mimesis and diegesis. In mimesis, there are instances of direct speech, and there are also instances of indirect speech.
Within diegesis, there are instances of report of action and description.
Referring to the narrative voice, the narrator is a heteros diegetic one. This means that he tells the story, but he doesn't belong to it. This is the third-person omniscient narrator.
In terms of vocalization, the narrator is an external one and omniscient.
When the story finishes, there are a few notes made by Hogwarts headmaster Albus Dumbledore, telling how much he enjoys this tale in particular, and that he attempted to perform it as a school play, which went awful.
A main distinction can be made in narratives between the main story and the comments by Dumbledore. The content have all necessary elements to be understood by any reader in general. The comments, on the other hand, have certain elements that can only be appreciated or understood by people that are more familiar with the Harry Potter universe in general.
I hope you enjoyed this review.
We look forward to reading your comments on it. See ya!